Okay, so let's start looking at now formatting lines of text and paragraphs of text. And we've got a number of tools that will really make your information stand out and look very, very professional. So just take close note of what we're going to be doing here. So first of all, before we even get into doing much with the paragraphs and so forth, I want to show you a special little feature called dropped caps. It's something that you'd see, let's say, when you're reading a fairy tale or looking or reading some classic, book or something like that. You might see something like this. And they used to do a lot in magazines as well. What I want to do is make it so where their very first letter of the paragraph ends up becoming very large, taking up about 3 lines, but it still stays within the margin. All right, now watch how this works. You can be anywhere in the paragraph. All right, you don't have to highlight the letter V or anything like that. So you just select anywhere in the paragraph. You go back into Insert. All right, and there's a button over here in the text group here, and it's called Add a Drop Cap. Now when you click onto that, it gives you 2 different kinds of, I guess, drops. The first one is the classic drop cap. The other one here is the in margin. I don't know how that looks. It might look good. It depends. But either one of those, right? You can also go down to here where it says the drop cap options. All right, click onto that. Specify, that you want to drop, let's say, and then you can actually pick a different font that you'd like it to be. So you might say, well, okay, I'll do it like this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to find maybe the brush script, all right? Kind of more of a handwriting type font, right? Script. So we click onto that, all right? And then it wants to know how many lines you want it to take up. Now, right now, the default is basically, 3 lines. So as you saw before, something like that. So we'll leave it there. That's fine. And the distance from the text is nothing. So it's like right on the text there. If you want a little bit more room, we can go in there and maybe give it like 1/10 of an inch or something, right? Either way, you hit OK, and there it goes. See? That's not too bad. It's kind of an interesting one there. You can also go back in there and change it. So if you say, okay, maybe I want to go with maybe the papyrus font, okay? So I'm going to go back into that same button here, right? Go back down into the options, all right? And this time I'm going to choose the papyrus. It's way down here. I'm lazy. I'm just kind of scrolling through here. All right. So there's papyrus. Click onto that, and we'll leave it. I think that amount of space is good there, the 1/10 of an inch. So we'll leave it like that. Hit OK, and there's your papyrus. That doesn't look that good. I like the other one better. So what you can do is just hit undo, and you put it back to what you had. So that's kind of an interesting look there, All right, so now we're going to kind of turn the corner here a little bit and go into something completely different. Now, we're going to go back into home here, okay? And what I want to do is I want to take the entire document and get it to where the text is lined up on both the left side and the right side. Now, right now, our paragraphs are lined up on the left-hand side, so we have this like ragged right-hand side there. So, to fix that, we can actually just select the whole document. So, one way of doing that would either be to hit Control-A, or to go out here into the margin and do a triple click. So we do a triple click out there, everything becomes selected. I can then go to my home tab in the paragraph group here. There's my left align that I've got right now. I'm going to change it now to fully justified. So I click onto that, and there it goes. All right. And then you can kind of click away from it, and there we have it. It's just, usually in business, we like to have it nice and blocked looking. If you're doing like personal messages and letters and so forth, then you might want to leave it ragged on the right hand side. But it's up to you. Well, however you want your document to look, how you want it to appear to people. That first impression, right? Now you might have this title. Now you might have thought this was a heading, but it's actually a title for the entire document, right? So what we can actually do here, we can click anywhere on it. We don't have to select it. We can just be on it, all right? And in here, in the paragraph area, we go ahead and just tell it we want that to be centered, and we can just center it like that. Now, if you want to make it larger and things like that, like we did in the previous video, then what we can do is we can select the text, and I can just do a triple click on it like that. That highlights the whole paragraph. That's a single line paragraph. Go back in here and make it bold, all right? Make it maybe a little bit bigger, something like that, and do anything else you want with it, right? But we'll just stick it with that for now, all right? Now, another thing we can do is work with the indenting. And indenting, and you might have seen this in the previous module videos where we had done the indenting on the left and right hand side. So the indenting is a way of almost like changing the margin just for a particular paragraph to make it kind of stand out, or a series of paragraphs. That's up to you. So, for instance, let's say that I want to take, we'll go down here a little bit here. Let's say I want to take this paragraph right here and get it so where it's indented maybe like an inch on the left, an inch on the right, and a nice little block type effect there. Now to do this, a couple of different ways. If you've got the ruler displayed, you can click anywhere on the paragraph, and then up here you've got your indent on the left, and over here you have your indent on the right. If you don't have your ruler, because it isn't turned on by default, you just go back up into the View tab, turn on your ruler there, and that will get you going. All right. So in this case, then what we'll do is we'll point to the very bottom marker here. It's called left indent. When you point to it, you hold down the mouse, you drag it in like that to whatever measurement. In this case, we want to make it 1 inch, from the margin. And then over here, right now it's at 6.5, so we'll bring it to 5.5, just like that. That's it. Now, if you wanted to do this, not having to drag it like that, because you might be having a bad drag day, so what you could do is be somewhere in the paragraph, and then go into the paragraph dialog box, which is in the Home tab here. Click onto that, and you've got your left and right indent. So if I want to maybe bring this down to maybe 0.7 on both sides, so 7/10 of an inch on both sides, hit OK, and it brings it out a little bit. All right. Usually when people do this too, they'll add additional, formatting of this. They might go in there and maybe select, the text and make it maybe make it italic, maybe change the color to be not black, but maybe like a shade of it. So maybe something like that. All right, that makes it kind of stand out. And maybe even go in there and make it just a little bit smaller. So you can go back up here and just hit the down A or the small a here, right? Bring that down like that. And then you click away from it, and there you go. You might even go ahead and maybe click at the beginning and go, do like a dot, all right? So up to you how you want to set that up. Now that would be like a full indent. We also have something called a hanging indent. And it's not used a lot, but I've noticed it where if you have like a script, all right, that you're going to be giving somebody to read and so forth, it'll have a hanging indent built into it. So let me just show you how that would work. I'll just do it to this one here. So what we would do here, okay, is we would then bring the bottom marker here, or I should say the bottom marker, but the kind of like the middle one right here. So in essence, the bottom marker, when you drag it, it drags these two at the top as well, all right, over, evenly. If you go just to the middle one here, that will drag everything but the first line. So this one here kind of represents the first line, right, as it says first line indent, and then right below it, it says hanging indent, see? So I point to that and drag it in, I'll just drag it in the same amount here, like that, let go, there you go. And you might say, okay, I want to do that, and maybe then have just a regular indent. That's the only choice you have really, but have that on the right hand side and bring that into maybe the same distance as well. Have it look like that. Again, I'm not saying that this is like the best look here, but it's something to consider, when you're formatting your document. Now we could have also done this in the dialog box, but I think it's easier doing it off the ruler because you get to tell it exactly what position you want it to be. You might not be aware if you went into, let's say, the dialog box and had to enter in measurements as to what you want there. You might not, you might not think of what. I mean, you might not know exactly the measurement that you need to make it look the way you exactly want it to look. So it's better to do it this way. But let me just show you here while I'm in this one that we did the hanging indent on. If we go back into the paragraph dialog box here, right? And in here, you'll see that it says special hanging as like 0.75 inches. So it's 3/4 of an inch, as you can see here, 3/4 of an inch in, from the margin. All right, and then you got the right indent, which is 0.63 in that particular situation. So that's the other way you can do it too. Now, if you want to get rid of this, all you have to do is just be somewhere in the paragraph, go back to your little middle marker right here where it says hanging indent, hold down your mouse, drag it back to the beginning there. There we go there. And if you want to bring this back as well, you can bring that back to the margin on the right side there. There we go. Now let's look at the what we call the spacing between lines and so forth, and also between your paragraphs. I'm going to go back to the beginning here, and you'll notice that obviously, and we kind of talked about this in the first series of videos, where when you type a paragraph, you're going to get the word wrapping, so you're going to have a certain amount of space between each of those lines. And then when you hit the enter key to start a new paragraph, or in this case a new line here, you're going to get a certain amount of spacing between the end of the paragraph and the beginning of the next paragraph, right? And I think that's a very convenient thing to have. Now, if you want to maybe change that up a little bit to have some special effects, well, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to show you now how we can go about maybe changing the spacing between the lines of the paragraph. Let's start out with that one first, and then we'll talk about changing the spacing between the paragraphs, all right, at the top or bottom here. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to click anywhere in here. You go back to home, in your paragraph area here, drop down here, or the dialog box button there, and you can see on here that it says multiple 1.02. Now that means that you've got like 2 100ths, or whatever it would be. It wouldn't be 2/10, but I guess it'd be 2 100ths of spacing. In other words, if this was set for 1, it would be your standard, single line spacing. It's a little bit more than that, so it's hardly anything, all right? What we want to do is squeeze that up a little bit. Now, if we just bring that thing down to just bring it to 1 here, all right, and then hit the OK, you hardly see anything. I'll hit the undo and you can see this. Look at that. That's nothing, all right? And then redo, there it is, right that. I want to bring it a little bit closer for whatever reason, right? So we go back in there, all right, and we bring it below 1. So we can go back in here. Now, if I just hit the down arrow, it's going to give me a half a space. Now that's going to be too little. If you do that and hit OK, that's what you're going to get. So that's going to be too much, all right? So we might go in there and we might say, okay, we're going to type in maybe like a 0.9. So I'll do a 0.9, all right? That'll be like 1/10 of an inch, or 1/10 of a space, below what normal. So I do that, hit OK, then I get that. All right, that's pretty cool. Now, if you think you'd like that for the entire document, what you can do is this. Stay right there, go right back in again, all right, and tell it, okay, 0.9, but I want to set it as the default, but what we'll do here is we'll click onto that, and we'll just say this document only, all right? So if we do that, if we do this one here, we'll do the document that we're on and all your new documents. We don't want to do that. We just want to do it for this one here. So I'll do that, hit OK, All right, now everything has been changed, right? We could have also done that by selecting the whole document and going in there and changing to 0.9, right? But that's just a little shortcut that we have. That looks okay to me, but I really don't want to leave it like this for this example. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit undo, all right, just like that. And that will undo it for the whole document, but it'll still keep it for just that particular paragraph for whatever reason. So this might be something you might want to do if maybe you indented on both sides, you like we did before, and you change the color, made a little bit smaller text, and then you can also tighten it up a little bit with the spacing. So that's a thought. Now, here's the other thing. Let's talk about the spacing after the paragraph. Now, right now, when you look at Chicago area here, we have, if I click onto there, and you go up into the paragraph here, it's going to show that we've got 8 points of space after that paragraph. And that's how it is for all the paragraphs, right? So we've got that in there. So what I want to do is remove that spacing, all right? Now I can do that either by going into the dialog here, making that 0 and hitting OK, or I can do a little bit more quickly by just being on there and then going up into this button here, which is the line and paragraph spacing, click onto that and tell it to remove the space after the paragraph, see? And by doing that, now it's nice and tight. All right, so I want to show you now how to add some bordering to this. Now, what I'd like to do is have, this close like it is right now, but what I want to do is have it so where there's a border between the Chicago area and the insert, but I don't want to have it be underlined. I don't want the underline. I want the border to kind of go all the way across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click anywhere on this paragraph, which is a single line, and then up in the paragraph area of the Home tab here, we have this button right here, which is going to add borders. All right. Now, if I go in there and I click on that little drop-down arrow, all right, I can go down here and I can say, okay, I want to add a border at the bottom of the text. So I've got the one right there. So I can click onto that, and there's my border. All right. Now, you're looking at that and you're saying, well, that looks okay, but it's a little tight there. Okay. Now, the thing that we could do is we could go back to this paragraph, go back in the dialog box, and tell it that we want to add a minute amount of space, right? So let's say we're going to add maybe just 3 points of space, all right? So I type in the number 3 there, I hit OK, and it does that for me. Not too bad. I might even go further and go back in there again real quick and change that maybe to 5. All right, so we'll do a 5 on that, hit OK, and there we go. So that's not too bad. Now this might be a little picky here, but what if I wanted to add a little bit more space between Chicago area and the actual border that we have there, okay? Well, one way of doing it, and this might not be as precise, would be to get right on the border itself. And when you get there, you can see how it kind of changes up a little bit. You get this little up and down, arrow. If you hold down the mouse and drag it minutely down, just a little bit like that, right? Just like that right there, right? Let go, nothing. All right, I'll do a little bit more. Come on. It's not doing it now for me. Sorry about this, you guys. Well, I don't know why it's not doing it. So it's not wanting to do that for me for some reason. All right, but this is usually where you would go to do that. Now, since that's not working, try a different way. If I go back to the border button and go down to where it says borders and shading, all right, we get this, all right, and we've got the the border we're using right now is what you see there, but we have the options here, all right. You go down to there and you tell it that I want to add some spacing at the bottom. So now watch this. If I go ahead and increase the bottom by maybe bring it up to like 2 point, barely anything. Now watch what happens over here. Hit OK. And see how I kind of pulled down just a little bit? Now that wasn't enough. So I'll just go back in there again, go back to my options, and maybe bring this up to maybe 4 point, all right, at the bottom. Now watch what happens here when I go ahead and hit OK finally. See how it pulls that down. So there you go. But usually you're able to grab onto that and pull it down, but I don't know why it's not doing it. I'm going to try it again here. Ah, there it works, see? All right, I'm just going to undo on that one. All right, so that's pretty neat. You probably noticed when we were in there how we were able to change the, the attributes to the border here. Let me just show you a little bit of that real quick here. I'm just going to hit the little drop down arrow again. Borders and shading, right? There we go. And on the just plain old borders here, we got this type of line, so it's a little bit thicker line. The color is automatic, which means it's black. If you decide that you want to maybe do a different color, maybe you want to go with maybe a dark blue or something like that, you just go in here and you can change that to your dark blue, right? But now when you do that, it doesn't change over here. So if you've watched my Excel videos when we're talking about bordering there, same kind of window here that we have in Excel. So we've changed that, but until we go over here and re-click onto this line or click onto this button right here, when you do that, then you'll see how it changes to that blue. Now if we want to make it a little bit thicker, we go down to here and say, okay, I want to go with maybe 1.5 point. There it is. Go back over to the line here, click it, and it turns blue, right? And it's thicker as well. Now we'll go ahead and hit OK, and there you go. And at that point, then you say, okay, see now you start getting picky, and you're going, okay, now I need to go back in there because I want to reduce it from 4 maybe down to 3 points. See, so I bring it down to 3, hit the OK there, and you'll see that kind of pull up a little bit, and then you say, okay, I've got it, it's perfect. Now if we go back in there and just very quickly select the text, maybe make it bold, make it maybe a little bit bigger, all right, and then add some spacing in there. And remember how we did that? We went to the dialog box there, went to advanced, and said we want to make it just a little bit more spacing, maybe a 0.5 point. Hit OK, stretches out a little bit, looks good. So there you go. All right, let's do something else with the paragraphs. I'm going to go down towards the bottom of the page. Better yet, what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out here, and we're going to see that. Okay, so what I want to do is you'll notice that this paragraph is getting cut, and what's happening is we're getting like a widow-orphan effect here, where we've kind of split the paragraph up. Now, what we can do is bring this paragraph or start this paragraph on a new page, right? So the easy way of doing that would be to click at the beginning like you see here, hold down the control key, hit enter, and it pulls that all up into the next page. Now keep in mind that if any of your paragraphs get partially pushed to the next page, and either what happens is either the last line gets pushed to the next page or everything in this paragraph goes to the next page except for the first line, you're already protected against that using what is called the widow-orphan control, okay? And just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here is that if we kind of click onto any of the paragraphs, I'll just click on this one here, you'll notice that we have, let me go back in here, the dialog box here, all right? And you go into the line and page breaks, you'll see that we've got the widow-orphan control on, all right? So just so you know, and that's for the whole document. Now, so, and I think that's a good thing to have, all right? Because you don't want to have it where you've got a single like orphaned line over here, or have everything here except for the last line. That last line goes to the next page. We don't want that. So that is already in effect. Now, what if you want to keep together your paragraphs? In other words, you want to make sure that if a page break occurs at any point in here, like in this case, on the third line or basically on the fourth line, it got pushed into the next page here. If you want to make it so where regardless of how your document later on gets formatted, that if there's ever a situation where any part of the paragraph gets split, that whole paragraph will go onto the next page. If you want that type of effect, what you would do, and you'll notice, let me just show you here real quick, you can see that for the remaining part of my document, they are kind of orphaned, or not orphaned, but they're kind of split up here. I've got the split there, I've got the split here, I've got the split from here to here, and so forth. See, so I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. I don't want to have to keep on looking for it, all right? So here's what we do. We select the whole document. So I'm just going to do a Control A. Everything gets selected. We can also go off into the margin there. And then what we do is we go into the paragraph dialog box, all right? We go over here to the, where it says, line and page breaks. You've got this here. And what we're going to do here is on where it says keep lines together, okay? We're going to see it's already kind of boxed off there. If we click it once, that puts a check mark in there. If we click it again, it takes it off. Click it again, now it's on. Oh, one more time. So now we got the check marks. That means every paragraph will be kept together, and if it gets split, it'll force to the next page. So there we go, right? That's all you have to do. You hit OK. And by the way, too, if this is something that you'd want to have as a default for all your documents to come, you can click on a set as default and make that happen. But we're just going to do it for this one here. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And there we go. So now you'll notice as we scroll through here, everything is all nice and together. How about that, huh? All right, so that's you can see how it had that much room down here, but and that was where maybe just one paragraph was on there. But see, actually that was affected by the orphan feature, and that would have pushed it down anyway. So anyway, but still, it's all together there now. So perfect. Let me just backtrack one little thing here. I forgot to show you something here that had to do with when we're working with our paragraphs. We had done something like this where we had indented and did a bunch of things to this. Now, we can also shade the background of a paragraph, right? So if you want to make that paragraph kind of stand out more by doing the indenting on the left and right, and maybe have like a background color going on, you can do that. Or you can just forego the indenting and just do the background color. So I'll show you both ways. So let's just say on this paragraph right here, we want to change the background color a little bit. So it's pretty easy to do. What you do is just go anywhere in the paragraph, and in your paragraph group here, you've got this little bucket here. Click onto that, and as you hover over the different colors, you'll see them kind of change there in the paragraph. So you might say, well, give it maybe a light yellow or an orange, or maybe even just stick with gray and do something like that. So that's all. It's a pretty cool thing there. If you did this on a heading, let's say we go over here to the heading here, right? And I go and I say I want to put a background color there, then you'll see that take over the whole thing. So there, in that case, you might say, okay, maybe on these headings, maybe have something like this, see? And have that kind of a look there. And then, of course, now that you know how that format paintbrush works, you can actually click onto this, right? Hit the format painter, and then go down here to Honolulu, click onto that, and now you've got the same formatting as well. Perfect. There's a special little feature we have, which I think is really good for maybe you've got like a contract where you want to have each of the lines numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth, every line, so that there's no way that somebody could get in there and maybe squeeze in between a line and try to put an extra line in there, because the numbering would be off, right? If they try to do it by hand or something. So the deal is that a lot of times when you work with contracts, you'll actually see each line numbered, all right? And here's how it works. Here's how you do it. What you'll do is you'll click anywhere in the document. So I'll do the first paragraph here. And you'll go over into the Layout tab, this guy here, all right? And you'll see this thing are called line numbers. Now, you can tell it to do what is called continuous, which means it'll basically do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, da, 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 and then continue on to the next page. Or you can tell it to restart the numbering on each page or each section. We haven't talked about sections yet, and so forth. Or suppress it, or you can suppress it, for a current paragraph. So let's just say we do it for, we just do continuous, right? So what you do is you click on a continuous, and there we go. And you can see how we've got those line numbers in there. And of course down here, we got an extra line there, so we can just backspace that out, and that way we've got the full number in there. So there it goes, 35, now line 36. If you'd rather it be where it restarts, then you can say restart on each page, and there we go. So now you'll see it restarting there, and so on and so forth. And then if you say, well, I don't want the line numbering for whatever reason on this first paragraph here, so we just click anywhere in there, go to line numbering, and we tell it that we want to suppress it on the current paragraph, see? And there we go. And for that matter, you might want to go to this one here and do it as well. You could have selected both of them and done it all at once, but we'll just say suppress it there as well. And that's it. Then if later on you say, this is a bad idea, just go back in here, hit line numbers, and just say, I want none, and turns it right off for you. All right, so hopefully this comes in handy for what you're going to be doing. I appreciate you watching the video. Take care.